Hey, what's up? It's GW coming to you live. This is Movie Talk, episode 2, for those of you who keep in track. First of all, I want to apologize. Yesterday I did the first episode. It was about that movie Chud. And it really didn't come off as well as I'd liked. The only other thing, too, with that is that I got a few facts wrong in that film. Orion Pictures didn't put it out. It was put out by New World and then distributed by Anchor Bay. The other thing is that, it just wasn't my best commentary review. So, I'm sorry. So, with that said, I hope, whoever saw that realizes that I was under pressure. I moved the camera, and I just decided to, put more of more pressure on myself to do it right. The other thing I noticed too, that whenever I was down there, maybe it was the position of the phone, was that the fact that I looked like I was in Japanese. The words were coming out before my mouth had figured the words out. So it was that, Godzilla type affair. With that being said, Movie Talk episode 1, let's just try to do better. Let's move on with it. So I pulled a series of movies here that probably would not be made today in this day and age with all the school shootings and whatnot. And they are a series of movies entitled Rampage. Now, you guys probably missed this because it went right to video and it was on Netflix for a while, surprisingly. This is made by German director boll. Now, boll, if you guys don't know, has made a career in making video game adaptations movies. Now, it says Rampage. This should actually be named Postal. There was a video game Postal, which all you did was pretty much walk around and kill people. And you could pretty much do whatever you wanted to them, to the outrageous limits. Well, Rampage sounded pretty much a good idea. Phase 4 films kicked this thing up. And this is the story of Bill Williamson. Now, Bill Williamson, he feels uneasy and claustrophobic, and he's one of these guys that keeps hatred underneath until it boils up. He basically decides to take a whole town, massacre a bunch of people, plot a bank robbery, and he's armed with a Kevlar vest and some semi-automatic weaponry. I mean, homeboy was packing, let's just be honest. He has a message that he's sick and tired of the way things were going. So his idea to shake it up was basically to blast everyone in a small town. And believe it or not, he gets away. He gets away. Why? Because this was a modest hit for boll. He went on to direct Blood Rain. He went on to direct Postal with Vernon Troyer, who probably was one of the worst films in his career. And he has made a litany of bad movies, but I actually enjoy some of his stuff. He's made House of the Dead. And if that name sounds familiar, there was an arcade cabinet, House of the Dead 2. Both pretty much, gun cabinet shooters. That had like very little story. But this one is probably one of the most, I want to say, flamboyant efforts, because it really shows that he can direct something other than video game garbage. Doesn't really come with much. It's a short film. It's about 85 minutes long. And it stars Brandon Fletcher as the title role, Bill Williamson. Matt Frewer, believe it or not. I think he plays Bill Williamson's dad in the film. Brandon Fletcher's dad in the film. Linda Boyd and Michael Pear. It's written and directed by boll, and it was put out, 2010. So, it spawned a sequel. 2 of them, in fact. But the violence level on this is nothing short of a Rambo movie. I mean, basically, Bill is gunning down people left and right in a small town. And this is a film, like I said, that could not be made today with all the Columbine shootings and what have you. And it's just a dangerous film, but it shows how people can easily be pushed over the edge. And when asked about the name, U-Boll said Rampage sounded much more familiar than Postal because going postal didn't seem like much of a good movie. However, Rampage did, and this is a pretty shocking first entry into the Rampage trilogy. So with that in mind, a couple years later, they made Rampage Capital Punishment. Now, again, this is put out by Phase 4. I think this is one of their big dogs. And this time, it was directed by U-Boll as well. Stars Brandon Fletcher and Lachlan Monroe. Now, if you guys don't know Lachlan Monroe, you guys should check out the Mark Paul Gosselaar comedy Dead Man on Campus. Because he was in there, and he was just a crazy son of a bitch in that movie. I mean, he's one of those guys that stood out. Mike Dupont, Michelle Mann. I wonder if she's the daughter of Michael Mann. I wonder if, there's a connection there. But this film, you see Bill Williamson, the anti-hero from the first one, ready to gun down a bunch of rich Washington employees. He holds people hostage, and he basically wants to get his message out there. He thinks that destroying the system of the way that we conduct business will bring back a change. And, of course, he gets away with it because they leave the door open for Part 3. It has a making of, a trailer, and a director's commentary. Now, if you like the first one, this is kind of where it starts to peter off and fall off the ledge. Sure, it has all the slam-bang action as the first one. There's tons of people gunned down. But in the end, it's clear that no one cares about Bill's message but him. Leaving the door wide open for the last entry, Rampage, President Down. We're going all out, baby, because he is ready to just tackle the president. This was actually put out not by Phase 4, if you guys can believe that. It was put out by Amok 3 Productions. I think Phase 4 was embarrassed and they wanted to disassociate themselves with the franchise. Again, put out by U-Boll. And again stars Brandon Fletcher, Steve Barman, Ryan McDonnell, Scott Patey, and Loretta Walsh. And the only thing that I can tell you in this film is Bill is under hiding right now. He is in the caves. He's got a wife who's about to give birth, I believe. And he is going to take out the president so that he can ensure change for his newborn baby. Does he make it out? I'm not going to tell you. But this is probably one of the more serious entries. It's not as action-packed. There's a few scenes of Bill taking out the SWAT team left and right like some kind of rogue Navy SEAL. But all in all, he thinks that his act of terrorism is going to change the country and open their eyes. But the point is that when you watch all three of these movies, the first one, it could have ended right there. The second one, okay, could have ended right there. The third one, I think U-Boll actually had to get a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign going. Because no one at this point was going to give him any money because he had already apparently screwed up Blood Rain and Blood Rain 2. Those are vampire games. I've never played them. He's also screwed up, I believe, a movie called Alone in the Dark with Christian Slater, and I used to have a crush on her. Hang tight, I'll tell you who it is. It's Tara Reid and Stephen Dorff. Sorry about that, guys. U-Boll also directed this film. Now, this is also a video game, and it actually was a pretty decent one, but it didn't have much story to it. Christian Slater's a private investigator speculating on the unsupernatural phenomenon. He delves into the dark corners of the world, yada, yada, yada. Basically, the tagline is, if you don't believe in something, it can still kill you. This was actually a pretty decent hit, but when people saw what U-Boll put on the screen, minus the excitement of the video game, I believe this was for PC. The video game was much more enthralling. This wasn't so good. So if you start to watch some of these U-Boll pictures, you can pretty much guarantee yourself either you're going to like them on a very bad B-movie level, or you're going to hate them and you're going to see what flaws he has as a director. Now, the other one that he did was Blood Rain. I don't believe I have that. That was not a good film. Sure, it had Christina Loken. She was a pretty hot chick, but I didn't get it. I didn't play the game, just like I didn't play Underworld, the video game. You know, there were certain things I didn't play. But you can start to see U-Boll's, how he does. And he's actually not a director anymore. He actually hated the media so much that he up and quit. Now, since we're on the topic of U-Boll movies anyways, let's talk about two more, shall we? Because I told you we'd get into this, and we're going to go deep. This is U-Boll's House of the Dead. Now, the tagline here, it says, "The game has just begun." Now, there is a ton of stuff in here, supplemental, because the game was a huge hit. I mean, it was co-op. You could blast your way through beaches of zombies. You could, you know, save people, and it was a thrilling experience. I played the game many times, as I had just mentioned, but the one good thing about this, it has deleted scenes, zombie movement, House of the Dead, prepare for battle, theatrical trailers, sneak peek at the new Sega game Nightshade. Now, Sega, this is a long ago movie. Now, the cool thing about this movie is U-Boll must have known that this game or this movie was not going to be taken seriously. So what did he do? He snapped in snippets of the gameplay every chance he got. And it makes for a pretty cool thing. Pretty cool element of the film. Trying to see what time this thing was made at. You know what? I'm going to just say it's probably around 2006, 2007 when this thing was made. It was put out by Artisan. Artisan had a little bit more faith in the franchise. But this is one of U-Boll's what's the word I'm looking for? This is a guilty pleasure. You throw this thing in when there ain't nothing going on. So, trying to still see what year it is. It's hard to read. Sometimes these cases get like all messed up here. But again, this was put out by Lionsgate too. So Artisan and Lionsgate collaborated. That wasn't enough. 2005, House of the Dead 2. Now, this is strictly B or C movie fare, however you want to look at it. Apparently, the first one didn't get solved, so we have an isolated zombie infection overseas in security campuses, and everything's crazy. Once a campus, now zombie-ridden territory. Now, again, U-Boll puts in his classic video game trademark because he knew this wasn't going to be taken seriously. You have making a House of the Dead 2 featurette, deleted scenes, trailers, yada, yada, yada. This time it was put out by Lionsgate and Artisan. And believe it or not, Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses fans might find some solitude in this because Captain Spaulding, Sid Haig, is in this film. Now, he's probably unrecognizable because up until this, he had only done House of a Thousand Corpses, again for Lionsgate. You know, he's done a bunch of movies in the 60s and 70s, Spider Baby being one of them. I don't know his full biography or his Wikipedia or his filmography, so I apologize. But, and it stars rapper Sticky Fingers. Again, I know his stuff. I don't know his stuff that well. Let's see. Victoria Pratt. Wonder if that's any relation to Chris Pratt. You guys think? I don't know. But this didn't sell well, and obviously that's another reason why U-Boll's film career went down the drain. Now, what I was saying before about movie talk. You know, I wanted to do something sort of like Joe Bob Briggs. If you guys don't know him, you should check him out. He used to host TNT's Monster Vision, and he would give you the kill count in the drive-in movies. But I'm not going to do that. You know, I've told people up to this point, you know, if I tell you about a film and you go check it out, that's great. You don't have to like it. Hell, you don't even have to love it. Just go check it out. You know, come back to me and tell me if you liked it. But, you know, I know tons of movies. That's the problem. I know so much stuff about this stuff that, you know, okay, I'm not going to be like a Gene Siskel or Roger Ebert, which I don't care. Because those guys will tell you their opinion. They'll say, well, this was bad because the violence in this film, you know, basically means that our kids are going to be, you know, psychos. No. You tell somebody, you let them go figure it out. You know, that's my advice to that. And another movie, while we're at it, since this is movie talk, we're going to end it, and I'm going to tell you a memory about one of the 1985's most interesting films. And I'm talking about Troll. Not Troll 2. Because Troll 2 was labeled the worst film in the history of films. You can look it up. Troll is about a troll that lives in an apartment complex. And when a family moves in there, takes over the body of the little girl, the daughter. Then starts transforming the whole apartment into a forest. And when I seen this thing as a kid, I can remember the very day that I saw this. It was probably December or January. I must have been about 10 or 12 years old. And we were out snowboarding or sled riding up in Boyers Hill. It was me. I was being watched by Samantha Carlantonio, Brandy Nagy, Brandy Ely now, and my man Jason Andriossi. That was my man. I used to run with a pack of crazy people when I was down there, and they all guided me right. So I just wanted to take time while I'm doing this. God bless them and thank them, because those are cool friends. There's a lot more stories I got to tell you about these guys. But anyway, we were up sled riding on Boyers Hill. And we were out there for we went out at 9, probably came back around 11, 12, something like that. And I was staying with my cousin Beth. And we went in because we were all cold. And I turn on HBO. And I see Troll. I didn't know what it was, but as a kid, you're into fantasy, right? So I'm watching Troll, and I'm watching this apartment complex turn into a forest. And I thought it was the coolest thing. But I didn't know the name of the movie because you don't think of those things. You just say, hey, I saw this, I saw that, you know. And I finally got it. My Uncle Joe picked this bad boy up from Maine. And this is a hard-to-find movie, at least a double feature. Now, they did make a Troll 3. It was direct-to-TV. And it tried to capitalize off of Troll 2. Troll 1 was released in 1985. I'm sorry, 1986. Runs an hour and 23 minutes. And this was put out by MGM. And this is a classic movie. It doesn't have the special effects. It has the sort of claymation sort of mock thing. But the trolls look pretty convincing. Now, Troll 2 has nothing to do with the first one. So, if you're going to get the DVD, buy it for Troll, because you cannot find it on a single DVD. So, that's that. I just wanted to share that memory with you guys because, you know, sometimes it's the films that take you back to a certain point. Just like a song hits you and you can remember where you were, or did you get your first car, you know, when the film hit. But that's how I am with movies. You know, just like when my wife, my girlfriend at the time, came back to me, I was watching Jerry Maguire drinking beer. You know how I remember that? Because it was on HBO and it was like 9:30 at night, and I was watching the whole thing. And she called, and we had a moment. So, But that's just, me. And I hope you learned something about boll today. And I hope you guys check out, even though the Rampage movies could not be made in this day and age, they were made and they are pretty violent, and you probably won't see filmmaking like that again. House of the Dead, they're cheesy. Alone in the Dark, I don't remember much about it. I had a crush on Tara Reid at that time, and I really just got it because she was in it, and Fango had an article on it. So that's that. Maybe next week on Movie Talk, maybe even tomorrow, I don't know. We'll do some other movies. Maybe we'll talk about Waxwork. We'll talk about the Willies, maybe. Oh, and speaking of horror films, E3 debuted, and the Blair Witch is now getting a video game treatment. I pretty much saw it, and I was creeped out by it. And I cannot wait to get my hands on it and check it out. So I think you guys, if you guys have an Xbox One, you should check that out too. So definitely give that a whirl. But I think this episode went a lot better than the first one. You know, I'm getting into my element, relaxing. And I hope you guys learn a lot of stuff about movies because of me. So, like I said, check out Rampage, check out House of the Dead, but definitely give Troll 2 a look because it's worth a trip. That's Movie Talk, and I'm GW. And hey, thanks for talking about movies.